Warning, this is a review upcoming of Dragon Ball Evolution. No clips, sounds, or anything from the movie were used to spare the little fanboy ears of any of this. And this is my review, definitely respected fanboys. And for their warning, this movie may make you cry, and so may this review. You have been properly warned. Enjoy the show. Or not. Good evening. Now, when I started the Kadic reviews, I really wanted to be honest, forthright, and straightforward with my reviews, as thus with Digimon the movie, last episode of this series. This episode is also an answer to the Bible Nostalgia Critic. So much of an answer, it's going to feel like a Spartan kick to his face into the pit of death. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I have done the review honestly that he does not want to do, is afraid to do. You see, I went straight into the seventh circle of hell and dragged out and watched Dragon Ball Evolution, widely considered by most anime purists to be the worst movie on God's green earth. Mind you, I did not do it alone. I had a tag team partner that acted as my witness in this affair, my nephew, Xavier Doyle, aka Pancake Says Hi on Xbox. Please add him. He's a good kid. Very funny, too, as he was watching the movie with me. But, yes, I did watch this movie, and quite frankly, yes, it's as bad as it sounds. But hear me out before you call me one of those people that just fall in with the sheep. Kind of like fans of SpongeBob SquarePants, or just name any overrated anime. Bleach, anyone? Dragon Ball Evolution was created in 2009 and was directed by James Long, but he's not the one at fault here. The real person at fault is the writer of the screenplay, Ben Kingsley. And yes, if you haven't heard that name since that craptastic movie, there's a reason. He was probably thrown out of Hollywood with pitchforks and a mob, or shot blindly in the street, and they still haven't found his body yet. This movie, however, is very well acted. The only actor of high note is one Chow Yun-fat, known for very high stylish kung fu flicks in the 90s, playing Master Roshi. But other than that, the cast is full of no names and never heard ofs, which surprisingly do very well in portraying their roles. Goku kinda still acts like Goku. Bulma still acts like Bulma, although she does not look like Bulma, but that's going to bring up an issue that's really going to be at the source of this review. Yamcha acts like Yamcha, and Roshi, well, acts like Roshi. And Piccolo acts like Piccolo. Except they kind of turned her into a ninja. I don't really understand that. And Chi-Chi acts like Chi-Chi. So, They got the characters' attitudes right at least, but how did they do in the continuity department? Well, let's just say continuity was thrown out the window like anime fans' sanity when they found out this movie was being made. This movie is such a continuity disaster. It's on the likes of Chernobyl. Sure, they get some things right, like mainly how they meet, how Bulma and Goku meet up, but at the same time they flip-flop the continuity. You see, Bulma did not ask. Bulma asked Goku to come along, not Goku asking Bulma to tag along. And it's these big, major continuity issues, especially the death of Grandpa Gohan in the early going. And trust me, that was only the beginning of the continuity nightmare in this movie that really brings this movie down. It does not say, however, that the movie wasn't well acted and the actors didn't give their best effort, because clearly they did, and clearly they knew the source material better than the writers did. But I digress. This thing goes from a total continuity problem to a disaster in the first 15 minutes. I won't even bother you with the details of the plot, because obviously if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you already know it, but for those that don't, there are these 7 mystical orbs known as the Dragon Balls. They can grant any wish that the owner of the 7 wants granted. Unfortunately for this movie's plot, they base it on an Armageddon-like prophecy when the evil Piccolo gets released. And yes, that Piccolo. This movie is not based on Dragon Ball Z, but rather the original Dragon Ball series of the 1970s. Piccolo was not the first villain in the series, he was the last one. The first villain was Emperor Pilaf. But then again, that's my anime fandom coming into play here. But the use of Piccolo as the movie's main villain was a smart choice. It is the most recognizable. Plus, Pilaf would probably turn this into a comedy, but for some of you, that would probably be an improvement to this movie. But I digress. They do bring in Chi-Chi, who is acted by a hot chick. But I won't bring up any of the actors' names, thus to save them just in case they're in witness protection from making this piece of celluloid. The movie goes pretty much the typical plot of the show, with each character running into each other, but then again, those continuity issues keep coming up. Sometimes the continuity is dead on right. Other times the continuity is so wrong it makes you want to shoot a bullet in your head. Most noted of this is the fabled Kamehameha Wave. See, the first time the Kamehameha Wave is used in this movie, it is used as a healing technique. A healing technique. Really? A move so capable of destroying the planet if fired by somebody strong enough, used as a healing technique. But again, that's just the writers and the people that are making this movie not understanding the source material and being stupid, So we can't really get on our anime fan high horse here. Another big thing. When the Kamehameha wave is used 2 more times in this movie, it's actually used semi-properly, especially in the last big fight scene of the movie where King Piccolo takes one right in the chest. I think they were trying to emulate the Dragon Punch that ends up ending Piccolo's reign in the original anime, but they decided to use the Kamehameha wave instead because it was a more noticeable move. I get that, but you should have gone with the Dragon Punch instead. Might have worked a little bit better. And the martial arts in this movie and the CGI, special effects, not too bad. I will admit, they're pretty good to look at points, especially the martial arts. But, God darn the use of slow-mo in this movie. They use more slow-mo in this movie than The Matrix did in its entirety of the first two. And the sad part is, the bullet time slow-mo is used in the first 10 minutes of this thing and drags on throughout the entirety of the movie. Again, slow-mo is cool, but overusing slow-mo just makes you lazy. And it's choices like this that would take an otherwise good idea if it were a normal movie, not connected with the Dragon Ball license, and turn it into the shit skid that people think it is. Trust me, there's a reason why people think this movie is so bad, and it's mainly the anime fanboys that it was intended to reach. They have every right and fervor to hate this movie with every fiber of its being. Or do they? See, they hate the movie because they get all the continuity wrong. And that's about right, but you shouldn't penalize the actors or the effort or even the director for how bad this movie turned out. You should clearly blame the main culprit in this cavalcade of continuity mistakes and horrors, Ben Kingsley, the screenwriter. Obviously, he was the one that screwed this ball up and turned it into the subpar stain that it is. But I digress. The movie's not the worst thing ever made. Shoot, it's not even worthy of a 1. It's not that bad, but it is worthy of a low score. I'm going to say about a 4. They do get some continuity right, they do get some ideas right, but ultimately this movie falters because of its horrible screenplay and continuity issues. Trust me, for a Dragon Ball fan, I wouldn't recommend this if I even had an extra large power pole to give you. The movie is that bad for you guys. But for the rest of you, you should use this movie not as something to torture your friends with or something to torture 8 of your stooges with, Nostalgia Critic, but use this as an example of what not movies based on TV shows should be. This is the worst example, and why people are afraid to use properties that would make for good movies. I'm not trying to excuse the movie in any way. 20th Century Fox should be ashamed of themselves for releasing this pile of crap into the collective consciousness. However, we should not penalize the effort. The effort's there. The actors tried. their damnedest, and they should be commended for actually putting in a good work. If they would have gotten a better script, though, the movie would have turned out a hell of a lot better. Let's hope the rumored sequel is not a worst pile of crap, and hopefully can redeem this thing as kind of okay. Maybe in 20 years we'll laugh about it, like the Street Fighter movie, but chances are we won't. I'm Lyoko Lion 59. Yes, I did survive that movie, and live life by the code.